Good evening, cream cake.
Welcome to 2017, The Librarian.
I feel like it's already way into the year for some reason. Are you having a good time this year so far?
Sure, it's been the best 12 days of my year so far.
Brilliant. What? 2016 was a strange year for video games, certainly. We've picked some games that we want to go over, some favourites that we've got this year, 2 each. First of all is going to be me. I'm having a look at a game that I absolutely loved this year, but I feel like was something of an under-the-radar game. This is a game called Odin Sphere,
Yeah.
Leifthrasir. I still don't know how to say that subtitle. Here we're seeing the beautiful menu system.
It looks like my cat.
Which is, it does look like your cat, which is essentially just a character walking across the screen and picking up books, and that's your way of getting into the game. The game itself is a 2D action brawler, anime-styled RPG type thing. It is utterly beautiful. The combat is just magnificent. It flows so beautifully. It's a remake of a PS2 game, as far as I can tell. They reused a lot of the assets. I mean, that sounds like complex gaming talk. I think that's the right phrase. But obviously, because of the power of the PS4, it looks the way you're seeing, as in it's just no slowdown at all. It's just beautiful.
What the fuck was that?
That is a anthropomorphic bunny called a puka. He feeds you food, and which is essentially your way of leveling up in this game. I feel like because it's Japanese, it's probably a fetish thing. Although I don't know whether I'm being cynical by assuming that.
Or racist.
Or racist,
But
yeah.
I like that her utensils are in her hat.
Yeah, dude. That's where she keeps everything.
Does she do a headstand when she wants to stir her broth?
Beautiful world map here. All sorts of a bit sort of Discworldy and that sort of flat Earth thing, but it's based on ancient Norse myths, but with more anime girls essentially.
Nice.
We're seeing some sick ass combat here. Looking really good. That's another thing as well. Is this game kind of makes you look like you're really good, even when you're not, because everything just flows so beautifully. It's beautiful. It flows incredibly well. There's lots of cute anime girls in it for those people who are after that sort of thing. And as far as I know, it's relatively cheap at the moment. At the end of the year, it is just wonderful, and it's called Odin Sphere. And it was one of my favourite games of the year, most definitely.
That's really good. It looks very pretty.
It is.
It reminds me of Rayman, like the sceneries.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that sort of 2D cartoony style. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
absolutely fabulous.
Good stuff. My first pick is Uncharted 4, which is certainly no surprise, probably to a lot of people. But Uncharted 4 just pushed all my buttons. And there are a lot of buttons to be pushed.
Sexy buttons.
I mean, you like this game as well.
It was wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good. Good, fitting end to the series. I hope it's the end. I know it isn't necessarily the end of the series. I know there's a new part coming out with Nadine and Chloe, is it?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, but that's just going to be DLC. It's not a main game. It's not got Nate in it, or
Yeah.
it's not in a main capacity.
I think this is one of those. I mean, a lot of games where they come out and it's a sequel, I think that they suck because they don't change enough. But Uncharted is one of those things where it just keeps the same mechanics. It doesn't change much, if I'm honest, but it's just so beautiful.
It is.
So wonderful.
The story was compelling. Here we're seeing multiplayer footage, which again was a laugh. Not the main draw of the game, but it does show off the combat, which was as fluid as ever.
When I finished the story, I wanted to be a treasure hunter for like a whole 2 weeks.
It looks like you've done a little fart there. God, I'm 5 years old, I really am. Yeah, I loved it as well. It didn't make it into my favourites because I thought it was, I guess, more of the same. I wanted something a little bit different, but it was a fitting denouement for me, certainly, for the series and for our boy Nate.
Indeed it was.
My next pick, I guess this isn't a huge surprise as well, because you just said Uncharted wasn't a surprise. Inside's been on a lot of people's favourites of the year, and I'm still surprised you haven't played it.
This is the top of my list of games to play that I have not yet played. It's number 1.
Yeah, it is just wonderful. Like I actually can't fault it. Like it felt the perfect length, whereas Limbo felt a little bit protracted towards the end. It's from the same makers as Limbo. It is a 2D platformer, dark, brooding, sort of overarching themes of sort of loneliness and dystopia and all that good stuff that was in Limbo, but it basically does everything that Limbo did, but better. And it carries on. Like the opening section of Limbo was really, really good with all of the sort of cinematic elements that it had with the spider and the kids in the woods and stuff. But this game essentially pulled that through the whole game.
That's good. It does look beautiful as well. I do love the art style. It looks better than Limbo.
Yeah, it upgraded the style, which is essentially still 2D small boy running through a dangerous world. But this world that we're showing you here, I've specifically chosen footage that is not going to spoil anything. This world looks very similar to the world in Limbo, albeit more sort of 3D, just full of hideously tense moments like this, where I'm being chased by a fucking dog. Jesus Christ. Whoa. Just, yeah, I actually cannot fault this game, really. It felt the perfect length, like because it builds up to such a wonderful cinematic, I've said cinematic, like a conclusion that feels satisfying whilst also being kind of depressing and scary, but in the best way. It's just wonderful.
It looks much more action-y. There's more threat than Limbo. Limbo, a lot of the sort of obstacles were like machinery, whereas this seems to be a lot more less lonesome. Yeah,
there's a bit of that later on, but you're right. There's a lot more interaction with the world. The world seems a lot more alive, whereas in Limbo it's felt like a kind of dark version of. It felt like a dark version of Little Big Planet in a way.
Indeed, it did. Nice, great game. Can't wait to play it.
It's fab.
The next on my list is the Firewatch.
The Firewatch? Do you mean Firewatch?
It's the game Firewatch.
Okay.
I love this game. This game, I knew this game was going to be like one of my favourites early on, because when I finished playing it, I couldn't stop thinking about it for weeks. It really just tugged on my heartstrings. I think the thing what makes it so wonderful for me is it's such a small story. It's just about like one character mainly that you're playing as, and he only interacts with one other character the whole way through it. So there's only two people in it really, and it just works beautifully well. And it's not trying to be big. There's no saving the world or first person shooter and crap like that. It's just a story about a man who's doing his job in the woods, and it's just beautifully told. And the landscape is just insanely beautiful as well. It's wonderful. Look at it. It's just great, and I think you should play it.
I will play it. The one thing that was initially putting me off, I now no longer think is true about the game. I mean, I was put off because of, essentially because we played Rapture. Yeah, what was that game called?
Everybody's gone
to the Rapture.
Everybody's gone to sleep.
Everyone's forgotten to put plot into a game. There's walking simulators. But as far as I know, that isn't this. Like, there's elements of that, but there's like the main character speaks, which is one thing that kind of separates it from a lot of those. Whereas it's just like Dear Esther and stuff like that, where you're finding things, like you're finding journals and stuff like that. But I already know that there's a story and there's a reason that you're doing things and stuff. It's not just bollocking around trying to find something interesting.
And it's really well paced as well. I think the game could have been a lot longer, but it cuts scenes like where it needs to. It does a really good job of doing that. And like it would just, and it takes you through the days, and it was suddenly just when you get to the end of the day, the narrative cuts to the right place, and it will bring you to the day two, and it will just continue. It's just really fluid and well paced. So yeah, definitely, I can't wait to play it again actually. And also I was looking to DLC because I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, DLC as well. Yeah. Awesome. Right, okay. Well, we've run down just two, really, of our favourite games each. We wanted to keep it nice and sort of succinct, really, nice and simple, so we can just pick out two games that we've actually really enjoyed. We haven't spent a huge amount of time with a lot of games, and these two games have really jumped out at us. For me, it was Odin Sphere, Leifthrasir, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Limbo, both of which were just like really excellent, and two games that I've actually spent some time with this year.
Yeah, likewise for Firewatch and Uncharted 4. Like I say, it's that the games that make you think about them afterwards for a long time. That's how I know it's a good game.
And that have an arresting art style, not just like Uncharted 4 looks beautiful, but all of these other games look beautiful in very different ways. I've noticed that the games we've picked have all been quite interesting looking in their own way. Like be they 2D or 3D, they all have very distinct art styles, and I guess plus a story, you've got to have that as well. Well, no, not always. I mean, Limbo did that. Inside is very like it drip feeds you information, but it's just the right amount. You know, it doesn't bash you over the head with the plot. Whereas Uncharted is absolutely the sort of bombastic, sort of big filmic journey.
Yeah.
I guess.
Just realised how hypocritical I was when I was like, I loved Uncharted 4, it's just great, it's got everything. And then I was like, I love this game because it doesn't do any of that shit where it's like save the world and it's really like just individual and
yeah, but without getting sort of soppy about it, that's kind of what's interesting about games now, is that you can do both. In that you've said that's hypocritical, but it's not really hypocritical in that you can say that a game that's so sparse in its narrative like this, or like me with Inside, it kind of doesn't really tell you a huge amount, whereas both of the other games, you haven't played Odin Sphere, but it's very much, it follows the anime tradition of pretty much telling you everything and almost telling you too much, but because you get like immersed in the lore of the game, and because the characters sort of walk on and say who they are and what they do, you know, it's just a different way of telling stories, but they all tell stories in their own little way and all look beautiful in their own way.
Do you have any other close calls to your top two? Any others that nearly made the top?
Well, Uncharted was really great. I didn't think it was my favourite of the year, but without shitting on your favourite game, because I did really like Uncharted 4, I did also like a game called Darkest Dungeon, but it's really, really hard, and I haven't actually managed to play enough of it to feel like I could properly speak about it with any like sort of I don't know, sort of comprehensive sort of breakdown of what the game's about, because I'm still pretty early in the game. But that's a really good game from this year that I played. What about you?
Planet Coaster was one for me.
Oh,
I've been waiting for that game for many, many years.
And of course you're escaping from the PS4 thing, because I only game on a PS4 because I'm a pauper, whereas you've got a gaming PC, so you can get out onto that Planet Coaster thing, and I've heard it's really good. The people who care about that genre, I've said that it's really, really great, and the proper sequel to that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that theme park world sequel that was wanted.
Roller Coaster Tycoon sequel.
Okay. What's the difference then?
Oh, let's not go there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, I've been the librarian.
I thought you were finishing your sentence.
Yeah. No, I was just finishing the video, dude.
I've been Cream Cake.
And we've been here for GameSpew.com. Check them out on Twitter, and check out GameSpew.com for lots more game info.
That's right.
You went for like, that's right. Join us again next week. I'm not going to start doing that voice. That was just awful.
See you next time.
Bye. Mate.